Hey y'all, Billy from Perma Pastures Farm. Today we're going to go over those reasons why your electric fence sucks. All right, before we get into it, y'all, remember, if you need comfrey, which we got right here, it's grown all over the place, bone sauce or anything else we sell, check us out at the website. But look, right off the bat, you think you might be saving a few bucks by getting a charger that's off the shelf like this one right here. And the only reason I'm using it is because it hasn't died yet. But it probably will, because we've been through tons of these thinking that we're saving a few bucks by getting these cheapos. What you find out is that they quit on you for any reason and every reason you can possibly imagine. Okay, I mean, they got some that are AC chargers like this one where you literally plug it in. Okay, this one here is 6.7 joules. We won't even get into all that, but it basically has a good punch. And if you were here about 3 minutes ago, you would notice how bad it was, because I got Kentucky Fried on this thing just a minute ago. But the point being is, if you think you're saving a few bucks by getting a cheap charger, you're going to have problems, nephew. Here's another one too, made by the same outfit. And like I said, the only reason we're using it is because it hasn't crapped out on us yet, but all the others we have. So you think about it, you may be thinking, oh shoot, I'll save 150 bucks by getting this one off the shelf somewhere. Trust me, you're losing money in the long run. It's not going to carry the charge you need, and it definitely ain't going to. Look, y'all, this is the consummate definition of planned obsolescence. They engineer these things, especially in the United States of amnesia, to fail. Here's one of the brands we use, and it works really good, okay? Sadly, it seems like, at least by my experience, none of the ones made in America seem to do well. The ones made in Germany, New Zealand, Australia, those are the ones that work. And this is one of them right here. Now, unlike the one you saw up at the house, those were AC chargers, meaning alternating current. These are DC, but they're also adaptable to be AC. So you could plug them in just by switching out the plug in the back. These I like because this one here is DC hooked up to this battery over here, and it carries an incredible punch. Even tells you the status of your battery, so there's no guesswork. You can literally change it and check it. Like I said, there's no promotional deal here. I'm just telling you what we use. And as you can see right now, it's telling me that this battery is full charge, but it will let me know if it isn't either. Also has additional settings. I'll go ahead and turn it off for a moment, to where the pulse happens more often at night or often in the day. Or you can have it run full rabbit all the way around. These, even though they're probably $100 more than the other ones up there, last longer and do exactly what they're supposed to do with fewer problems. Do not skimp on your charger. Now this one here is kind of rigged up. William came up with this little rig that it has here, where it's basically we got it wired up straight to the ground rod that goes in. Because we have high ground conductivity around here, because we do in fact live in a temperate rainforest, it's really as simple as this. This is all we really need, and it's more than the punch than we need to get in there. So this is definitely one of the ways to go. Another major mistake that a lot of folks are making is that they see on the chargers that it'll go 10 miles, 120 miles, whatever the case may be. Well, that doesn't necessarily account for when you're using netting, okay? A lot of people are getting a charger, especially those solar chargers, and they think it's going to power their net. But what they don't realize is that there's a lot of resistance in this stuff, especially when you're touching the ground, especially to a high extent. Another big problem, people are putting 5 and 6 nets on there, not considering how much it's weighing down your system. That's a big problem too. Some folks are getting poly wire when they really ought to be getting poly braid. There's less resistance, and it's going to conduct a much better charge over a longer range. So consider those things as well. Also, another big one there is to consider the type of netting, if you're in fact using netting. And as always, the chickens start tripping every single time I start filming. This one here has fewer strands, but when you go down to this chicken netting, there's a lot more, and a lot more of it's touching the ground. So if you're not considering that, this one here is going to have far more resistance than one like that. So you got to consider that as well. We're going to talk more about that later in the video. But seriously, do you need 5 chicken nets in there? If you do, you're probably having issues right off the bat. So don't use too many nets for the system, for the charger you have. Now, this is by no means an exhaustive reasons. I'm just pointing out some of the big ones that you're going to run into when you're doing this sort of thing. Now, one of the big ones out there, depending on where you live, is going to be grounding. Now, if you live in a temperate rainforest the way I do, the ground rod I showed you a little while ago is more than sufficient. In fact, it's so good here, I can literally put up a fence and clip on the ground lead from the charger to the leg of the step-in post. And that thing's only about 4 to 6 inches deep. But that's sufficient here. For a lot of you, especially in arid environments, it ain't gonna work out. Or in a place where you haven't gotten rain in 6 months. Now, if you look in the directions of most of these chargers, they're gonna generally tell you to drive 3 ground rods. Half the time, they don't even tell you what kind of ground rod to use. Well, I'm gonna show you a little trick today. Now, this here is a 6-foot ground rod, okay? I'm not quite that short, I'm just standing in a different spot. But this here is a 6-foot ground rod. Do not, under any circumstances, do this on your house or any living area. This is only gonna be sufficient for, you know, your animal systems and things like that. Now, I'm picking this arbitrary spot over here where it's kind of weedy and where it's overgrown. I'm just gonna make a little divot like this. Like I said, this thing is 6 foot. I'm gonna put my rod off to the side. And I'm gonna take my water bottle, pour a little water down in there, and then watch this. I'm gonna just rock my rod back and forth and then just advance a little bit more. And then I'm gonna stick some more water so you can see it go down, and we'll have William back out here. I'm just gonna stick a little more water in there. Now, I'm just gonna do the same thing again. Like I said, this is ground level. And all I'm doing put a little more water. Usually I get squirted in the face every time I do this. Look how far I've already driven it. There you go. 6-foot ground rod. Right there. I could take it all the way down if I wanted. I could step on it. I could keep driving it. But I'm making the point that it doesn't have to be an arduous thing to get it in the ground. Now, some of you that live in the desert or in very rocky places, you may have to lay this thing sideways with 3, 4, a number of others. And you'll want to join them. It's better if you can do it exothermically with number 6 soft drawn copper between them, about 6 feet apart. And you can make yourself a ground field. That's not always necessary, but for most of the people out there where you're living in a rocky place or a rough place, there's other options out there. But you gotta, you know, take little tricks like this and apply, you know, what you're gonna need to make that happen. But grounding is one big thing depending on, in fact, the place that we had in Texas, every dry season we'd be in a bind. So you may have to put multiple rods out there, and in the worst kind of scenario, you may even have to put a little salt water on it. Like I said, do not do this on your house. Here's a little bonus for you, and I get asked this all the time. I'm just gonna give you my opinion on it. Folks are thinking, oh, I'll just go out and get a solar set up. I'm not a fan. I would much rather carry that deep cycle battery, put it either on a charger or put it on a solar trickle charger that'll, you know, get that thing all up to snuff. I would rather use DC than solar any day of the week. I have yet, and I don't care who makes them, I've tried just about everything out there. I've never found a solar deal that I like, whether it's the little suitcase number or the big one. It either doesn't carry the pump or the punch I need, or it doesn't last for any good period of time. So I'm not a big fan of the solar. I would rather go any day of the week with DC, that I take the whole battery and put it on a trickle charger that's solar. That's my opinion. That's how I feel about it. All right, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out to also get yourself a really good fence tester. Look, y'all, I'll be the first to admit that a lot of this stuff is not cheap. But I tell you, it is less expensive to buy the good stuff right off the bat. I mean that. Because, I mean, ask me how I know, because we've been down that road so many times where you think, oh, we don't have the money, or, gee, I'll just, you're thinking you're saving money in the long run, but really you're not. Get a good tester, get good chargers, get good material, get good poly braid, and get yourself good fencing. Do all those things, and you're already setting yourself up for success in that, but do not overlook your grounding, especially for those of you that live in places that are, don't look like this, that don't get this kind of rain, or it's rocky, or it's sandy, or you're having all kinds of problems. Lots of other good little tricks out there. All right, y'all, if you need anything from us, like I said, go check out the website. Till next time, this is Billy from Perma Pastures Farm, where permaculture is my passion. We'll see you next time.